Welcome back to Matriarch Alchemy. I'm Allie,
I'm Amanda.
and today we are going to be talking about can we or should we be optimizing human evolution? Now, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, Mom,
In
but
relation to genetic testing and IVF and making humans, is what we were talking about. So, if we could control, the guy's getting engaged, or we were talking about having a baby, if you can control your ultimate environment, number one, just yourself, for
mm-hmm,
having the best nutrition, the best everything you could be before you got pregnant. But also,
yeah,
now people are using IVF to ensure their baby doesn't have, say, a disease grandpa had,
yeah.
other genetic conditions, and things like that. So, like, what do you think from what you studied with genetic testing? How much can we actually learn from genetic testing of embryos? Like, so I know they can test for certain diseases. I know they can usually tell if
Yeah,
they're male or female, but they can't really tell if it's going to have a high IQ or get diabetes. I know there's like a scale of percentage of risk for certain things. Or
yeah.
can you tell you're going to have like a smart baby if you test your embryo?
I mean, not particularly in a way that's going to be like yes or no, or here's what their exact IQ is.
Mm-hmm.
We know that genetics is one of those things that is always joked about that like it's the gun, but then your environment is the trigger. So certain things turn on and off genes. We can't completely know exactly what's going to turn on certain genes. Also, so many genes control just like one thing. So like your eye color or your hair color can all be controlled by millions of different genes that have all been activated within that time frame. So
Okay.
same thing with like let's say the easiest of IQ is we don't know if that's going to be thousands of genes and we can't just test for someone's IQ just based off of your genetics.
Right. I didn't
So,
think so, but
but with
I'm like,
like
is there
bigger
anything?
diseases, I mean, we can test for certain diseases that we know where they can be found. And this is why, genome testing is so important,
Mm-hmm.
where we can find where those splices are. And we've been able to use CRISPR in the past of like gene editing. And all that is changing that one specific sequence to not be the like the bad version of it in the easiest way. So it takes like a little chunk, it's like pulling it out, and we replace it with a better chunk that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have that um, disease or disorder.
I still don't really get how they like replace a chunk of DNA. I'm like, what? I need more
It is
details. But
honestly
so
the
an easy way to
easiest
explain that.
way would be to explain like when you're building a puzzle, if you have like let's say three
Mm-hmm.
pieces that go together, we know that let's say these this part of the gene is one piece, the other part is another gene, and so you have three pieces. What CRISPR can do is it identifies where the specific puzzle piece is, and it pulls it out and it replaces it with a puzzle piece that does fit into there, but it's just a different image in the easiest way of like a puzzle piece. That's a better way to explain it than
Well, I understand that concept. I don't think I
yeah.
like understand physically how they actually do it. Like, how could you actually pull apart human DNA and put something else in? Like, I'm like, what? I need a
Yeah.
video.
Yeah, there are some really cool videos you can look up that actually I'll have to
Really
find one and we can
show
link it
how they do
below
it,
of
because
how
that's what I don't
CRISPR
get. I'm like,
works. Yeah, so you take like the whole gene and it lists out literally the whole genome from like start to finish with that and you can splice out all the parts that actually mean nothing. This is a whole other science thing that I don't think we need to get into. But there are videos of how it goes into and it looks for the specific gene that it's on, and then it also looks for the specific sequence. So like, we've all joked
yeah,
or we've all talked about how genes have like what is it? GCT, the letters. Obviously off the top of my head I cannot remember them for the life of me. But we have those, and it looks for the specific sequence, and it's able to identify it, splice it, and replace it. I'll find a video and we'll link it somewhere.
All right, continue.
Yeah, so our DNA works with like 4 different DNA bases, that like connect to the other half of our DNA spiral. And so we have like A, T, G, and C. And so CRISPR is able to identify the specific letters that it's looking for within the DNA. And another enzyme helps like as scissors and cuts the puzzle apart and inserts the new puzzle. We can link a video if I can find a good one somewhere.
Yeah, it's interesting to think that a genetic, like the DNA strand, can be cut and pieced back together, like it still works. So that's gives me hope
Yeah.
that I can clone you one day.
Well, they
Have
do already
another
use it
one.
in like plants. A lot of like we talk or you've heard about all the plants that are like, genetically modified plants. And that's all they're
Huh.
doing is so that they're either like less likely to be eaten by bugs because they have a harder coating, or they're able to grow faster or grow bigger. So like corn and potatoes and like all these things that are mass produced to be bigger
Hmm.
and easier to supply, that's what a lot of the gene editing has been used for.
It makes me wonder sometimes, like when we talk about like, oh no, GMO corn or GMO plants for our crops, and it's like, well, it's not all bad. Some people are very scared and weirded out by it, but it was like, well, in my mind, if you can make it so a bug doesn't want to go on your vegetable, like what is the bad negative side of that?
Yeah. I mean, I can understand like people are like, I don't know if I want to eat this plant. Kind of sounds weird, and it is
They're
kind of
just scared.
weird, but
They're like,
we've
what?
been doing it. I mean, it's a faster way to doing it than us back in the day with our Punnett squares, where they used to be like, oh, I like this plant more, so I'm going to breed it with this plant that I also like so that we'll have better plants. It's just us doing that at a faster pace than we would have if we had just done it without the sciencey part,
Well, I mean, it
just in
just
your
makes sense
backyard.
to me that scientifically we can speed up a better evolution in a sense of the stronger things that will survive for the environment that we're currently in, whatever that
Yeah.
may be. So, creating vegetables and plants that can grow in a drought so that we don't die if there's a drought is not necessarily a bad thing. It's still, we're for keeping forward human evolution in the sense that we are going to survive these hard times.
Yeah, but they also are able to like enhance the amount of nutrition that are within those like vegetables or crops too, which is like great if we can do that to plants that are also resistant to other climates. They're less likely to get, let's say, root rot or something. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's completely avoiding any sort of famine we could have from food if something else
Yeah.
were to happen, which kind of cool,
It
kind of
is
weird,
cool, like
but
if you think
cool.
about it, but I don't know enough about it. I have to go read somewhere, but I know we weren't going to talk about that. So I'm like,
Yeah, but
read on it to prepare. I
yeah.
was more thinking about Allie and I have talked, we both are egg donors. So my 26 years ago, I donated my eggs and to one woman or one couple,
Mhm.
and obviously don't know anything about whatever happened with that, right? So sometimes
Right.
that's interesting to me of thinking of what has happened and changed from 26 years ago to now for what's going to happen or what they could do with my genetic material. So
Yeah.
now you have to worry about like what's going on out there. Like could they have my eggs could have been if they were like, "Oh, we're not going to use the rest of these." They got 39 eggs in one shot from me.
Well,
So, if she didn't use them all, I hope would she have donated them to science? Like, and I can't remember the paperwork that I had back then. I was so young. Like, what were the
well,
rules? What were allowed to happen with it?
yeah. So I talked to one of the nurses one of the last times that I donated, asking kind of like those questions. So I was like, hey, you have 44 of mine. Like, what happens there? Do they just make 44
Mm-hmm.
babies? She's like, well, no. All the eggs that we get are just the ones that are like the more mature than that we can see.
Mm-hmm.
So a good chunk of them, let's say 15 of them are already too small and will never be able to, you know,
So they're like
fertilize.
forced early, they're not ready.
Yeah, they're too early, but they take them so that like your ovaries don't have like any cysts that form in the next like few months.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say 10 to 20% of the amount that they get are too small to even like become embryos. They just do it so, long-term effects possibly for you. Then
Yeah.
if they do end up fertilizing them right away, then only like, I think it's also like another 10 to 20% die or like never make it past like the blastocyst phase, which is what they would implant into somebody. So at the end,
Yeah.
they're probably left with only like 10 to 12, which granted, they're
Mm-hmm.
probably not doing that. But based off of my paperwork, I was like, I don't care what they do with it. They can either freeze them forever, they can destroy them after they're done, or they can donate to science, or the new thing is like embryo adoption, which is a thing, which is kind of weird, but that's what they can do.
Well, and that's what I was hearing ethically, like why that's so strange is now you could end up with people from different families that don't know their siblings genetically that end up getting married. So now we have a whole other problem. Like, so because people aren't telling their children, like, hey, you were
Your donor
from another
conceived.
egg. You're not my genetic child, even though I carried you. I mean, yeah, I know women like that think, well, no, this is my child. I carried it. They feel that same bond that you
But
would if it
genetically,
was.
you're not.
But you have to remember that.
Yeah, that is like something that is kind of weird to think about. So in the US, it's not as regulated as, say, other countries, or
Mm-hmm.
really, it should be far more regulated than it is. But
Hmm.
since there's so much anonymity with any sort of person who is a donor from the egg or sperm side, there is a possibility that you could have donated to somebody's family because they are not genetically testing people. They're not checking who you came from. They're not
Mm-hmm.
checking your social security and looking into your actual medical history. So many egg donors and sperm donors, like they can lie. You can lie. They're not
Hmm.
checking your IQ. They're not checking your education. Like that, the only thing that they're testing is
They
like
were
you physically health.
asking, and you're
Yeah,
filling out a form,
you can
but there
lie.
really was no proof about a
No,
lot of it with your history.
they
I,
don't
and
contact
I
your
didn't know how
primary.
much they were actually testing for like diseases or genetic stuff,
The only
especially
testing,
then.
because I was pretty involved with that because I loved the whole sciency, part of it of what they were testing. But the
Right.
only thing they're doing is like STD screenings. They did genetic testing, which just sees if you're a carrier or have some sort of genetic disease that they wouldn't want. That's it. They're
Mm-hmm.
not seeing if you're biologically related to any of the people who are donating or who are receiving any of your.
Mm,
So it's
that's
kind of
weird.
weird. There are stories where even sperm that's been frozen for 30 years, somebody picks it and then
Oh, because
uses
it
it.
sounds like, oh, it'll look like our family. Well, yeah, it's your brother. Gross.
Well, that or it's, let's say if like, somebody who's your age donated when they were 19 because they were in college and they just wanted some extra money.
Yeah.
Somebody now could still be using it, even though back in the day they were like, oh, I just thought it was only going to be used for like a certain amount of time. There is no requirements for how long you can use it, and they're not testing who's who. So you could.
I believe they asked me like for my if I had any rules when it came down to like who I would donate to
Mm-hmm.
or different things, whatever my personal beliefs were.
Yeah.
But I seriously don't remember some of the stuff. It's been so long. I have no paperwork. And that particular clinic isn't there, I don't think,
It
anymore.
is. I know where I
Oh,
know it, but
okay,
that's
good. Well,
besides the
maybe I should
point.
call him and ask.
You
But
can.
I keep thinking, I mean, this woman, if she was doing IVF immediately right after, she should have a child that's around 9 months, or no, 10. I mean, around a year older than you, right? So I was thinking, actually, I always keep wondering if someone's gonna pop up on like my ancestry as like my half child because of this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm personally, and I had put in my paperwork that I'm totally open to being contacted if somebody was just ever wanted to know
Yeah.
more information, have more medical history, because I find the whole thing so fascinating. So this is my call out there, like, I wish my genetic eggs would come back and tell me, hi, we made it.
Well, so
Or
I
in
think
yours too.
one of the biggest like things though is like people do not tell their children. And that's what's become a problem
It's weird.
is one,
I wouldn't.
you don't know if you have any family history if you're donor conceived because you only know what the clinic told your parents back in the day. You can
Mm-hmm.
call and try to like ask, but I mean the likelihood that they even like know and they've been keeping tabs on your egg or your sperm donor to see if they have any medical things pop up. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that isn't a thing. It's just like, okay, bye, and they never talk to me ever again. So, but then parents don't
Hmm.
tell their kids that they're donor conceived. So they could be saying, like, oh, I have a family history of strokes, when really you don't. Or you,
Mm.
like, it is kind of weird if people are not telling their kids, like, the full on truth.
Yeah, that I think that's kind of hard if you're not sharing the truth about their genetic history. And
Oh, yeah. And then the thought of your kid getting older, and let's say they meet someone that's their new person and they're ready to have a baby. What if that
mm.
is their genetic child or genetic off, like sibling?
Oh,
Half
that's
sibling
what I'm
of some
saying.
sort because either, you know, how small the world is. We all know that the world's
Your
small.
dad donated sperm in college for cash.
Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah, here you go.
Now you're dating
Or
your
people are like,
half
oh,
brother
my dad cheated. And I'm like, no, probably. He may have just been an egg donor
or a sperm donor.
or a sperm donor.
Yeah,
But
they're so common, and I just feel like sperm donors are way more common because it's so easy, to do compared to
it's
the
a
amount of
much
stuff
easier
that goes on your
process.
body as an egg donor. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I can't imagine ever having a child and then not telling them if they were like donor conceived. Because people will
Hmm.
even hide adoption from their kids for the longest time. So it's like,
I know they used to. I don't know if they still are.
I mean, it's gonna be a lot harder to now with
You
the
know,
way
like
that we have.
back when like people my age and a little bit older, it was a secret that they were adopted. And I'm like,
It's weird.
I guess I mean you'd think people would know. Were you all walking around with a pillow under your shirt faking a pregnancy?
I don't know.
So
Maybe
no
it
one,
was easier
because
if you
don't you
never
think
left your
everyone
house.
around knew you weren't pregnant? I think
I don't
that's so
know.
crazy to
I
think
don't.
that that's what they were doing.
It is weird.
I have
But
questions,
yeah,
Grandma.
I feel like that is one like
Hmm.
really strange thing that we're not keeping up, and it's highly unregulated in the sense of like keeping tabs with egg donors or even updating people who donated, like, oh hey, you know, it was successful or it was not successful, or hey, we're about to destroy any of these eggs that we have frozen. Do you want them back? Like, I feel like it's
That would
weird
be
that there's so
interesting. Yeah.
much.
I think I do. I did get just that one phone call, or I talked to them once, where she said that this woman was pregnant with twins, and she had
Mm,
gotten to like the 8 week point or something, and then they're not in their care anymore. Though you just go to your own doctor, like your
yeah, your regular
stereotypical
OBGYN.
OB for your doctor, and so she's like, then she's sort of out of her care. But I'm sure they follow up and tell them, like, give them a little bit of feedback about what's going on,
So
right? For their
there is
numbers and
somebody
wanting to know what happened.
there is somebody on TikTok, I think. She's like considers herself the donor conceived person of TikTok. You'll have to go look into her, and she does a lot of advocacy for it because she was conceived by her doctor as the sperm donor because he just told them, I'll find somebody who's kind of like your husband. That's a whole
He
other
was like,
weird
it's
thing.
me.
There's a lot
You
of
well, I know there's
male
that
doctors who
creepy
are doing that.
guy who he did it like 400 times because he wanted to have like a million kids, so he has like
Oh yeah.
over 100 fathered
There's
babies.
That's the other
But
thing
they're
is
like,
there's no
that's a
regulation.
problem for someone that's in a small area because now all these people can't date because they're all
There's
siblings.
there's no regulation really. They say there is for like egg donation which I could see
Mm-hmm.
your body kind of giving up after a point. But there is no regulation for a male for how many times they can donate, for where they can donate. So
Mm.
you could technically, they're like, oh, you should tell us if you donate anywhere else, but it's the same thing. They're not checking. They're not keeping an eye on it,
There
really.
should be a way. They need a registry or
There
something.
is a website that you can go on if you
No.
were an egg donor or you're looking to find like your egg or sperm donor. I think it's called the sibling registry. So if you ever find
Mm.
out that your donor conceived in some way, or somebody, in any
Yeah.
aspect was, go on there. If you can at least find out where the clinic and roughly about the time, and if you know anything else, it has connected a lot of people who didn't know who their
That's
biological.
fascinating.
Yeah, so I have us both
Hmm.
on there just in case. I check in on it every so often.
So ethically or morally, do we owe our children that like to do the best that we can for everything? You know, everything in our power. We know we're gonna procreate. Which one is taking good care of yourself, but also just if you could do more things to prevent them from having diabetes or Down syndrome or whatever, like, do you think parents kind of owe that to the children?
I think there are things that are within your control, like how you take care of your body prior to or while you're pregnant, because you
Mm-hmm.
do owe that to your child. I mean, I don't think we should be causing harm if you're trying to have a baby. Why not do it the best that you possibly could? I mean,
I'd agree
yeah,
with that personally.
I would think you
I
would
mean, at
owe
least doing
them.
what you can for yourself,
Yeah,
and reducing risk,
yeah,
not smoking and drinking and maybe getting on your vitamins,
being
your prenatal
healthy,
vitamins.
working out.
Uh,
But I also do think it is up to the parents on, I think you told me about somebody you used to know who had like some genetic disorder in their family, and so they went through IVF to make sure that they didn't give that to a child. Was it like um, CF?
yeah.
Uh,
Was it what?
what is it? Is it CF?
What the disease was?
Yeah.
It was Huntington's disease.
Okay.
So I guess that's one of the ones they can tell if the embryos have it.
Yeah. So I
So
think
then they
people who
wouldn't, I don't know if they test the embryo or they test the eggs
they test
from
the embryo.
one of the parties. The parent had this disease and they knew it could very strongly be passed down and they just didn't want that to happen. So they went through IVF to select, say, the eggs that were
It's they
free
they
of that.
they don't test the eggs. They test the embryos after like they mix everything together basically and they create all the embryos and then they take a tiny sample of like 2 to 3 cells and they genetically test them for that.
The
Um,
zygote, isn't it?
it's the embryo before right before it becomes like a blastocyst, which is like I think 5 days.
Mm.
So it's still, hanging out in a little incubator. And then they freeze it, and that's when they decide to transfer them. But so that's what happens with that is they do have to make a couple different embryos and they test a couple different ones and then it comes back. Um,
Mm.
but at the
Interesting.
same time, like if you find that out, do you think you have a right as a parent to choose which embryo that should be transferred? Like, oh, I'm gonna have a little girl that doesn't have this.
Well, and that's a whole other thing to be when we talk about super babies of like now you're selecting, no, I want to pick, I want to only have a girl, or things like that. But I
Yeah.
was listening to another video from a geneticist, and she was talking about how they can really only give like percentage of risk factors for a lot of things. They can say, oh, well, this embryo is 20% more likely to get diabetes, but this other one has only 10% to have this, and then this one has that. And like you have to weigh all the options. You have
Yeah.
to realize like all these things are on a continuum. So it's like that it can change going on where the the risk can go up and down by other lifestyle factors and genes
Yeah.
being turned off and on by your lifestyle and your other health factors. Well, I think that other people are fearful about this, like, oh, we're making
Suspended
embryos,
babies.
and then, then what happens to them if they have a disease? And you're just throwing them away, and they act like that's some ethical problem. I don't know. I feel
Yeah.
like it's more morally wrong to be procreating where all the kids have horrible diseases and spend their entire life in a wheelchair or die young. It's horrible. Like, these kids are just tortured. Like, I'd
Yeah.
never want to.
I think
It's
that's
so
something
hard.
that as a parent you have to find what makes you feel like it is morally and ethically okay. I'm not here to tell you that it's wrong or right to have a baby with, Down syndrome or with ALS. Like that is I think up to a parent to decide if that's something that they really want to do. But I feel like at the end of the day it's like, do you really feel like you should be procreating if you do have something like a 75% chance of having a child who could have a horrible disease? And I feel like it's something that you
I
should
think
be thinking about.
that's a really good point, that morally and ethically, like, some people shouldn't be procreating and they should be adopting. Even if you have mental health issues that could be passed on.
Yeah.
It's a betterment to society for you not to procreate. And I always feel like I sometimes struggle, like, with wondering why, like, when it comes to all the women who are doing IVF, because they really want their own child. And
Mhm.
well, one of the questions I ask myself from a science standpoint is, well, why is your body saying no? Why is it not working? And then a lot of these people are religious. And I was like, God's telling you no. So why are you fighting it so hard? Like, I have questions. I think
I do feel like that is another like aspect to it that could like
it's
biologically why
interesting,
is your body not want to have a child or why is it unable to, but yet you are defying what your body is trying to tell you.
which
Like
could kill you.
it's either that
Like,
your
as the
body
mother
cannot
could
support
die.
it. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
have high rates of maternal mortality in the United States as a first world country, like one of the
Mm-hmm.
highest.
Mm.
And I mean, yes, if we can go into the healthcare of that, that's probably a whole bunch of other issues. But do we think
Mm-hmm.
it's also because people have been using IVF so much when biologically maybe their body was never made to support giving birth or having a child?
Yeah. So I feel like in the last 20 years, like from when I first got married, a lot of that was like kind of where it was getting big. It felt like a lot of people were doing IVF. And I'm hoping the studies are coming around now to see what exactly kind of scientific results have we gotten from all of that. Like, are all these people happy, healthy, normal?
Yeah,
Is
there's
there
like a whole
anything
joke.
showing up that's wrong? Because I just am really curious. Like, your body is saying no. So why was that? And like, the drive is so hard to still force the body to carry a pregnancy. And then you wonder, like, if the mothers are putting themselves at like a really great risk where they could die.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting as like time goes by and more science and studies are going on. I don't know how much um, that is happening. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
off the top of my head. Funding has kind of been up in the air for the last year for a lot of research. Um, so I don't
Interesting
know
out
the
there.
answer to that. But I mean, that's something that I always think about is like the innate urge to have a biological child. I don't understand. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's maybe just a personal feeling. I just don't understand people who are like, yeah, but it has to be my kid. Like
I hear that a lot from women.
I don't
Like,
get it
or they'll say, or I've heard a
personally.
lot of women say, "Oh, my husband would never adopt somebody else's child." Like, they're like,
Which
"I'm okay with it," but he's like, "No, he wanted to be mine." And I was like, "Your husband's not that great."
sounds kind of sucky.
Mm,
I mean, I've had these conversations with many people, and especially it does seem like a bigger drive within men where they feel like they have to have this innate urge to have a biological child. They don't care
uh-huh.
how, when, where, what, but they have a harder time wanting to adopt. And I don't know what the
Mm,
science is behind that, but like I I don't have the innate urge to have a biological child. Like if it didn't work out, I'd be like, I have no problem adopting. Honestly, today I would rather adopt. Then I don't have to ever be pregnant. That sounds great.
Well, then what about like the women that are choosing surrogacy over adoption just so they don't even have to be pregnant, but they want to have their genetic child?
I mean,
I mean, or they
honestly,
maybe they can't, but I think some of them are scared. Like Paris Hilton flat out said she was terrified to be pregnant, so she just hired a surrogate to have her kids.
but
I was
also
like,
at the
that's
same time, is that
fascinating.
like, sure. I mean, we have
Okay.
science that lets it happen and it works. Sure. I do think we live in a place that it's like great that you have options. And if you never, ever, ever want to be pregnant, but you want to have a biological child, you are able to. You are able to get a surrogate.
Yeah,
But I don't
it's
know.
really interesting.
It's,
It's definitely interesting. I mean, so if I were to go back to like thinking, I always like wanted to have kids, obviously just getting pregnant was the easiest free thing.
you know,
And I had no problem getting pregnant, but I don't know that I ever was like, oh my gosh, it has to be mine. And, or because I'm adopted, I guess I would have always been
yeah.
okay with adoption. But I've learned a lot of nuances about it that I think I would handle it differently than maybe it was handled for me to make it better.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting to hear or even to think about that I haven't since you were adopted is
Hmm.
now if you don't know like anything about your biological parents and if you were adopted, you cannot donate eggs. That's like a
Hmm.
complete disqualified, which I think is great. That is one thing. Or you're obese, those are really the only two things. Maybe a
Really.
horrible medical history,
You
but
just have to have some. But that's the thing is people are
some
just filling
knowledge.
out the paper. They could just make it up.
I mean, you can go in there like, and you know what does bug me?
Hmm.
So, I'm a young woman on TikTok or Instagram. I can scroll through and I can't tell you how many times I have seen ads for like egg donation. Like, oh, hey,
Hmm.
it's super easy. Come donate your eggs. I made 10K. Like,
You're the targeted audience
do you know how
for the
weird that
ads.
is? I feel like
What
if
do you
you have
mean?
to one
The advertising?
advertising it and they're trying to get women to do it. They're not fully ever telling women how much work goes into donating your eggs
Oh yeah,
and
it's not
how it
easy.
takes a toll on your body. Like
It's like a month of your life, hormonal. There's a
more.
lot that happens. And then the retrieval is very painful. It's
Yeah.
not painless. No, they're
No.
lying.
And then
They just
afterwards you're
tell
still
you it's
recovering.
not, and then you cry your eyes out.
But I do, from talking to people who have been through IVF on the other end, like if they did IVF for themselves, they're like, oh,
Hmm.
I loved my fertility clinic. I got so close with my nurse and my doctor and even the other people there. And as an egg donor at
Mm.
two different places, I
Hmm.
feel like I was tossed aside. It was like,
Like
oh, you're
treated
just
like
for the
you're
eggs.
just
Yeah.
you're
I
not the
called them
client.
telling them that I, like, after my second egg retrieval, I called them because I was like, I
Mm.
can't breathe after I went home. I was sitting in bed and I was like, I feel like a weight is sitting on my chest. I could not breathe. I called the nurse line and nobody answered the urgent line and left a message. She called me back 2 hours later and was like, oh, yeah, it's just fluid. You'll be fine. Not even, hey, come on in. Let's check you out. Let's make
No
sure you're okay.
concern.
It was just like, you'll be fine. Whatever. So ever
Mm.
since then, I'm like, I don't know if I would ever do it again. Definitely never will for enough
I
money.
think they need to be more honest about
They do.
being an egg donor is a big deal. They're not paying us enough for how awful it is. Some people have
But I,
horrible reactions to medication.
yeah. And I also feel
And
like
you have to
having
shoot
so
yourself
much
with needles
anonymity.
like twice a day for a month. And then you can't have sex with your partner because you could accidentally have, you know,
You could accidentally get
octuplets.
pregnant with multiple children. Well,
So many things.
there's so many things they're not telling people. So then you're sitting out these ads, which are young girls who are like, I've donated 3 times and I've made 35K from it. It's super easy. It's all a lie in a weird way. Maybe I just didn't get lucky with the places that I donated at, but
Hmm.
I have never felt like it was something that was like I got close with the medical staff from going through this horrible thing or this, it's a
No.
huge thing on your body. It's not easy. You're getting pumped with
Yeah.
hormones to make you fertile. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
thought it was hard.
It was
I
weird.
didn't make enough for what I'd say I went through. I'm like, you pay
Yeah.
me more.
But then I also now, like, being 25, thinking about it compared to when I was 19, it's like, it is so weird how much there is like anonymity where like I have, or yeah, anonymity?
What are you
Words are
being
hard.
anonymous?
Like how anonymous it is where
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who I'm donating to. They just basically are like, hey, we have a couple who wants to have a kid, and this is
Yeah.
how much we're willing to offer you for it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not just a simple business transaction, you know, and
It's
that I
so
never
funny
even
because
got
I
to like,
remember that process, like being in the office, and they kind of separate like the days the donors
mm-hmm.
come in, the days the other people come in, and they just like trying to keep it more private. And I just remember the girl telling me about how the selection worked, and she's like, "I already have a couple in mind for you," and she's like, "You'll be selected immediately because you're really cute." It was like people just
Well,
pick you because you're cute,
so
and I
now
was a
I
good
think what,
student.
yeah, it is really weird
I'm
because
like, okay.
talking to people who have received eggs, and not mine, but like received, have gotten an egg donor
Uh-huh.
or a sperm donor, like they only know basic stuff about you. They might get maybe one or two baby pictures that you provided so they kind of have an idea of what you look like, but like whose baby
I
picture
think they
truly
showed
looks like
them
them?
one kind of one photo of you and then like a baby photo of you, but
They didn't on the other
I can't
end.
remember.
They only show like, I don't know, whatever it is. Then they get like the briefest little summary that's like, she's blonde, she has blue eyes, she's pale, and
She's
she's currently in
pale,
school. Okay, she's just reflects the
fair
sun. I don't
skinned.
know. Whatever it is,
She's
they give like,
transparent.
you are just like a list, another number to
Oh,
all these
a list
people,
of
and they.
traits.
But the other weird thing is egg donation is no longer just completely like, oh, I'm doing this for this couple. Like they can get eggs and they do freeze them, and they were like, there's a high possibility that you'll have a couple different people who choose you, and I don't
Oh,
know,
so they just
that
take your
seems
eggs and
also
freeze them,
weird.
and then the people
Yeah,
choose you, and then they just take them and thaw them.
so
So
there
when
could be
I
a
did it,
case.
it was different.
It's like sperm
Sorry.
donation now.
Yeah. So when I did it, I essentially they were like had me start my medication where I was like getting onto the same cycle as the woman that was receiving my eggs. And it was
Yeah,
like instant, like there was a guy in the room, they were literally doing my retrieval. They had a little slidey door, and then the scientist, like guys on the other side, was making babies in the other room. And then she was going to be implanted like that same or the next day. And I was like, what? I don't even know how quickly they could do it. It was just
they can
like
only
a
do it 5 days
crazy
later.
fast process. But the
Yeah,
guy was like
so
sitting there, and I remember they were just sliding a door, and I was like,
that's
seriously?
still a thing. I
So
don't remember
creepy.
any of the retrievals because I was completely like Twilight drugged for both of them.
I wasn't drugged hard enough. I just remember crying, and the nurse was like, "Are you in pain?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." She's like, "It's just the medication. You're just surprised." And I was like, "No, I'm not surprised. This is really uncomfortable."
Yeah, because they don't tell you that they're going to stick a needle through, they have like an ultrasound wand that goes inside of you that has a needle that
Yeah,
is this long. It's
yeah,
about 8 to 10 inches that goes through the side of your vagina, and then it sucks the eggs out through your abdomen. So they don't tell you that there's a risk of perforation to your bladder or bowel or anything else because why would they?
no. They're like, "It's no big
Now,
deal. It's
today
fine."
they still
They
have
kind of treat you
somebody
like you're
that
like a little cattle. I mean, it's very like
kind of feels
handmaid's
like it.
tale. Like you're treated like you're just a.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I was
Because
like,
the
okay,
second time that I
it's
donated,
weird.
I remember sitting in like the pre-op area, and there's a couple
Hmm.
beds, and there's like one place where you all are just sitting there waiting to get like rolled in one after another, and there was other girls who were sitting there, and we were all just like, oh, you're donating too, like ha ha ha. And even one of the nurses is like, all right, donation morning. So there was like four or five of us
Mhm.
sitting there waiting, one after another, getting an IV after another, getting our medications, getting checked in. Like, do you know how weird that felt? I did feel like a cattle just waiting for the
I
slaughter.
know. It was like, oh, you're just
And
a
then you're
number.
watching another girl
Oh, and
come
that
out
was
while
like
you're about to go
my,
in.
I was like, obviously, because everything's a secret, I'm just a number. Like, I was donor number, whatever. And the woman that received my eggs sent me flowers at the office. And they were like, it's like the envelope had my number on it. And I was like, this feels so weird. But they had to
Yeah.
call, like, to make sure she wasn't in the parking lot because they were worried that she was out there watching for me to walk out with the flowers to see who I was. I'm like, what if she followed me home? I'm like, that's creepy. I'm like, I'm good. Maybe I shouldn't take these home.
The first time I donated, like I think a few months after I got a call from the clinic and they were like, "Hey, we have a gift from one of the people who, used your eggs.
Hmm.
If you want to come in, we can only do it on like Thursdays or Fridays at this time. You can come in and get it." And I was
Hmm.
like, "Okay." That was the time that all the donors came in at the same time, like where they couldn't like
Hmm.
cross paths, but they were like, "We wait at least 2 weeks. You cannot come in for the next week. You have to wait," just because they didn't want like anyone crossing paths or them sitting outside looking for you. But I thought that was
Yeah.
weird because I completely said on my profile that I was fine if we wanted to do it where I got to meet you. And now that I think about it, I wish I had only
Maybe they
done
didn't
that
want
I
to.
got to know you, because it's again like I just felt like a number. I felt like now I have
Hmm.
no updates. Like, what if that kid got born and had something wrong with them that I didn't know about for my own genetics? I would
And
love
that
an
would be
update.
something really interesting that they should like follow up and tell you, like, so you have more medical history in a sense, but you don't know which
Yeah.
side, which person it came from, right? Like, it could have come from the sperm
Well,
and not
yeah.
you. So it's like,
But
well,
the fact that they're not even like, if they were to do more testing and find out it came from their mother or whatever, it's like genetically that should be told to me if something was wrong. But I also feel like
hmm.
I've tried updating clinics about like what happened to dad, because I do think that they should know if there is a history of anything that pops
Well, it's
up,
too
you
late
should be
now,
telling
and
me.
I don't think they're gonna want to call someone and say,
No,
"Oh, just so you know."
but it's so weird because like I
They don't.
I should I would think anybody who has any sort of donor conceived child would want to know medical history of their biological family.
Well,
So
at
if
the
something
time
comes
of
up,
retrieval, things that happen
no, I mean
later,
in
there's a lot.
general.
You'd think, but people also seem to want a certain level of privacy with that.
Well,
I don't know.
but that's like
It's
if we were to
interesting, the
find
whole
out
thing.
you had a genetic disorder that is passed down, that is very rare. And so I go and I tell the place that I donated at, like, "Hey, my mom just had this. I really hope you guys tell the anybody who's used my eggs and has children." They probably didn't. They probably won't,
Huh.
which is weird.
Yeah, I don't think they would do that. And I don't think anyone's ever calling and tell them because they're like, "Oh no, that's negative. I don't want them to know that about me."
I think, but that's like so
It's
many people
fascinating.
who have donated who probably have never updated anything about their medical history to the places they donated to. And now you have parents who
Hmm.
might have children who have things that they never would have known about, like, what if I have a connective tissue disorder and I'm over here sitting like all funky and you're like, "That's weird." But like you would probably want to tell. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like there's so much stuff that could save like parents or children pain or suffering or doctor's appointments if things did pop up. And that it's all very
Like, you
weird.
could
I don't
answer more
know.
questions without them having, like, their child having to go through a bunch of testing. Like, oh, by the way, I have celiac disease now. You might want to just keep an eye out for that for your kid
Hey, I put that
or
in
something
there.
like that. But that's fascinating. I bet you something stuff changes in the future that they're going to start talking about it, and people are wondering more.
Maybe.
Who knows?
I don't
Maybe we
know.
will meet our genetic material.
Probably never. I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff out there. I have no problem
I'm
with it.
curious. I'm just
I
curious.
think if I could go back, I would tell myself never to do it. More out of like the morality
I
of
would have
it.
asked for
Because
more money.
I would have, one, asked for more money, but two, I would also be like, only do open. Like I wanted to at least like meet.
I would say
people
you
now.
had a much harder time than I did, though. Like it did not go well for you. Like the drugs really were hard on you.
I know you secretly thought I was like a surrogate the second time because it blew
You
me
got
up like a
very,
freaking
very
balloon.
swollen.
I did, and they didn't
Well, a lot of
care.
women gain weight on those drugs, just trying to get pregnant, and then they can never lose it. Like it's rough.
It's
I
so
don't know.
dumb. I don't know. I felt like I was cattle being thrown around the United States to the places that I went to. So let's just sell our prize cow, Betsy. She's number 0148. I don't know. That was a made up number, by the way.
It's not that serious.
That wasn't my number, but I did feel like a little cow who's like, let's sell Betsy number LYTO.
Number
So
LY.
I don't know. I don't freaking know cattle enough to know what their numbers are, but I mean.
Well, they're not letters.
Some of them have letters. They do for
Well,
like
you
the
just said
farm that
number.
they're associated with. Okay, you know what? You knew what I meant. Okay.
Not my farm. What did you say? It's not my sheep the other day. Not my
Not my
sheep.
farm, not my sheep. I don't know.
Oh my
Let
gosh.
me live my
Well,
life with my own
I don't think
little
we've answered any
namaste.
questions. Hopefully, we gave some people something to think about if they're going to be an egg donor or
I mean, yeah,
the
egg
process.
donation. If you're fine with donating your eggs, never knowing anything, and possibly having like, feeling like crap for it, then go do it if you really don't care about that. That's fine. But I will say the money is like
Yeah.
not always worth it, and the amount of money that you probably could make literally doing anything else would be more.
Yeah, it's not a lot
And be more.
and the time and the recovery and whatnot is more than you think it's going to be. Just
I
be
think
ready for that.
it would have felt more rewarding, I think, if I had known whoever I was donating to and was able to watch them like, and get to know them and like feel like they're okay. Like I feel
Well, some
good that
people
I
do.
met
They
these
do it
people.
for someone they know. And then
Yeah.
they feel good about it. But yeah, if they don't treat you really with respect and then you're doing it anonymously, you're just like awesome.
Surrogates have a way better time because they actually get to like usually know the people that they're having this baby for, and they create that relationship. But then like if there is an egg donor involved, the egg donor is just kind of like, oh yeah, whatever, anyways, you're just a hair, get out of here.
Oh boy.
I don't know.
All right.
It's a lot of weird stuff.
I think I'll just stop it right there. Thank you guys for listening. This is Matriarch Alchemy.